absolutely didn't see. Whoa! It's recording, right. So, hello again, guys, and this is my first race review since the Nürburgring. Now, I'm sorry about my absence, and we return once again to my bedroom. I bet you missed this scene in my videos, didn't you? Well, let's get straight to business, because we're getting to the climax now of what so far has been a great championship, and I'm sure that we would all love to see the fight come down to the last race. And I won't lie to you, I've always said if the title doesn't come to the last race, then it will be then the rest of the season will be boring no matter how many races we have left. And I'll stick by it, because if Jensen managed to secure the title in Japan, it would lead for a very boring Abu Dhabi. Because basically it'd just be Barrichello and Vettel fighting over second and third in the championship, and that's not what we want to see, really. We want to see epic final races like we saw last season in Brazil, when Hamilton took the championship on the last corner on the 2nd of November 2008, I'll have you know. But now Jensen's lead has been cut by a point. Barrichello takes back the point that Button made on him in Singapore, which saw him outdo Barrichello for the first time since Turkey? No. Hungary. First time since Hungary, so yes. And also, let me talk to you about Kimi Raikkonen now, because we don't know if he's going to be racing for 2010, and if he is, who's he going to be racing for? Well, many think it's McLaren, some others may believe he's going to take up rallying, some maybe think he will retire. But there's all sorts of options floating around in the air at the moment, you know what I mean? So, there's even a rumour floating around that Robert Kubica has already signed a deal for Renault for 2010. Kubica, if he moves to Renault will be the second team that he's been in his F1 career, because of course he hadn't driven for any other team apart from BMW Sauber. And yes, and I know you've missed him, and I've got some news about him. Felipe Massa is back to testing today, and he will be testing the 2007 Ferrari soon. Right? Soon. Not known when, but soon. And Alonso has obviously signed a 3-year, I suppose you know this by now, but he signed a 3-year contract with Ferrari, starting in 2010. And he's hoping to do the Schumacher thing. You know, many titles. And this is quite extraordinary, because Alonso has 2 titles under his belt, the same amount Schumacher had when he moved to Ferrari back in '96 or whenever it was, and he won 5 titles. Now Benetton, Renault used to be Benetton, and Schumacher moved from Benetton to Ferrari, and Alonso is and Alonso was in what was formerly Benetton. Well, he's in Renault now, but yeah, right, you get it. And also Toro Rosso. Now Toro Rosso, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? Toro Rosso looked quite strong through qualifying, but as I've always said, maybe having two rookies in the team damages it. Because there's a lack of experience. They don't. Well, it's like the blind leading the blind, really. I know you probably heard that saying 1,000 times, but that's the only one I can think of to describe it. Also, Adrian Sutil, collided with Heikki Kovalainen in the race. Obviously, yes. Adrian Sutil was the worst off in that collision as he spun, and Heikki got off relatively scot-free, really. And Heikki is also, and Adrian, like in Singapore with Nick Heidfeld, he's not accepting any responsibility for this, but he tried to overtake Heikki Kovalainen, and that's actually, it could be down to both, really. It could be 50-50. It could be from both ways that caused the incident, but no one side admits full well, Adrian Sutil doesn't admit full responsibility for his crashes, accidents. You know, would assume it's his fault. But no, right, so, who else? Now, Williams are still undecided over their engine supplier for the 2010 season. And this is quite worrying, because they say they don't want to get behind on the car development. But the fact of the matter is, they were planning on, they were linked to igniting the old flame with Renault, but the old Crashgate, which I don't like to talk about myself, but the old Crashgate hasn't made things very easy for them to decide, so obviously that's a bit of damage for them. And another thing about Vettel, he's 16 points away from Button. No, he's 16 points away from Button, no! And we've got 2 races to go, but it's not all impossible for him to win the title. But it's unlikely, because I know Kimi Räikkönen in 2007, 17 points for 2 races to go and he won it, but that's not to say that's not to say that Button is going to have the end of a season that Lewis Hamilton did at the end of 2007. And that's not to say that Vettel's going to end this season on a high. You know, I mean, if he has one poor race, he's out of the runnings for this year. And also, one final thing before I go, Brazil. Brawn are just half a point away from the title. So now the only way Red Bull can win the title is if the Constructors' title, is if Red Bull score 1-2s in Abu Dhabi and Brazil, and Brawn don't score any points. So basically, Brawn score 1 more point this season, and they've got the title. So, well, that's enough from me. I'll see you in 2 weeks for a race review of Interlagos. See you then.